height and skin around your neck. Ask if your comfort means that elsewhere burying a daughter. Ask if your comfort.
Hey y'all, come on into the room. I'm doing an interview right now. We're on break.
Ask if your comfort means broke schools and food
But
deserts
I'm doing a.
Ask if your new apartment used to belong to someone who couldn't afford to look like you.
I'm doing a radio interview right now with WWDB in Philly to discuss the DC Riots. So we're on a commercial break right now, but I want to make sure I bring you all into this conversation and hear what folks around the country are talking about and what they are saying. Make sure you like this broadcast, share this broadcast as well.
Don't matter the same as all lives. Some lives matter only to ourselves. Some lives matter only in they hood. Some lives matter of fact, and some lives up for debate. All lives.
Yeah, but y'all come on into the room. Just doing a radio interview with WWDB AM in Philly, discussing the DC riots and all the mayhem behind it. But we're on commercial break right now.
Mean to you? Am I talking to you? Do you wish me justice, or do you just wish I would just shut up already? Vanish already. 3. Diamond Reynolds. We are back, Tone and Tenor radio show. Our topic today is jockey for position and political power. Our guest that we have today is Brother Damian Jones, chair of the Urban Justice and MP PAC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had to play that poem because that really hit a sore spot. So y'all need to check that out. I think the name of that poem is that's what it be.
That's because that Tammy, you made a good point.
Mm-hmm.
It is not just
our principles,
just President Trump, 51%. And you made a point that this has not just started. This type of behavior has been ongoing for years.
Yeah.
Not just by Republicans.
Yeah.
By Democrats as well.
Yeah.
By those that seek power.
Yeah.
And a seat. It is not about. Let's not get it twisted. It's not about the money.
Nope.
It's about the power that folks sitting in these seats have over individuals' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that they've abused over years and years and years. But, gentlemen, the appetizer was what we saw when they were basically storming all the capitals in Michigan, Pennsylvania. So this is not news, y'all. That was just the appetizer.
And right here in Pennsylvania, on Tuesday, the same something similar without the violence happened, where the lieutenant governor, who is the president of the Senate, had to step down so that there wasn't going to be any chaos in the chambers, because Republicans did not want to acknowledge the Democrat that had won the seat.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not want to acknowledge the winner because they were contesting the election.
No, the love affair with losers. When we spoke about this on the previous, I think. But this is what happened. David was on the show.
This is what happens, when you jockey and you seek power. This is what happens when you hold those closed door meetings. We've been hearing this word democracy all week long. But we also see these folks going behind closed doors are now jockeying for position, for open seats, calling each other, telling this person not to run, that person not to run.
But let me
we talk about democracy.
Let me say this, Randall. Like, let me tell you something. I've been in politics for almost a decade now, and I love it. I love it. I love helping people. I love trying to change lives. I love helping create wonderful policy. But where we are politically in this country is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment with the behavior of Republicans. It's an embarrassment for the behavior of Democrats. as well. And so I think what we saw the other day turned off a lot of people. And frankly, for me, it turned me off to say, do I want to continue to even take part in this? Because it's not productive. It's not changing lives. It's not helping anybody. It's everybody pointing the finger. It's everybody finding blame in other people. It's folks not wanting to sit at the table and find commonality and unity. Listen, the word unity has become so cliche. We hear people talking about sitting around the kitchen table and finding unity, right? But when you hear a Joe Biden call Trump supporters chumps a few weeks ago, when you hear Hillary Clinton calling Trump supporters or conservatives deplorables a few years ago, and then on the other side, Republicans also being vile in their rhetoric as well. Folks are complicit across the board here because we cannot have conversations with one another to even find out how we can move this country forward. We have representatives in the House talk about what's politically expedient for them, right? This country, I don't care, white, black, red, blue, this country is frustrated. I don't care if you're black and you're concerned about Black lives mattering and being shot down in the street, you're frustrated. I don't care if you are Hispanic and you're worried about deportation and a wall being built, you are frustrated. I don't care if you are white and poor, wondering how you're going to make ends meet, and they're talking about sending you a $600 check in the middle of a pandemic. You are frustrated. I don't care if you are Muslim and you're worried about your safety as it relates in this country. You are frustrated. Americans across the board are frustrated. And so it is terrible that we saw riots and violence at the United States Capitol, right? But we've also seen riots and violence in the streets this past summer from frustrated Americans. We know that as we look through the history of America, violence comes from frustrated individuals. We always say this little cute saying about Martin King that says violence is the language of the unheard, right? And it's fine to say that when we're talking about Black Lives Matter and people burning down cities and burning down small businesses, and often doesn't have anything to do with Black lives. But then when folks, Americans, take their grievances to the doorstep of government, now things got out of hand in a way that we didn't want it to, but they came there from a place of frustration. And the point I'm making is that Americans across the board are frustrated, and we cannot overlook, diminish anybody's viewpoint, because folks just want freedom, they want liberties, they want economic empowerment, no matter their race, color, or creed, and that is what the Constitution said it would do for all of us. So the question is, how do we come together and sit down at the table and respect one another, respect our differences, and find our commonalities to make this country go forward? I'm ashamed as to where we are today, fellas.
And that means one way for us to do that is to allow voters to make the decisions. Mm-hmm. Let the voters vote. We've had elections. We've had these elections where, and I think a lot of people are really frustrated, and because of the turnout numbers.
Yeah.
Let's think about it. What if we were not in a pandemic? Would those numbers be as high? Hell no. Mm-hmm. In reality, let's think about it. But the frustration, everyone's feeling it. But at the end of the day, we have to learn how to hear those that represent us, misrepresent us. We have to learn how to hire those that will represent us, and we have to learn to say no, stop. We do not want someone running unopposed.
Yeah.
We do not want parties interfering in the election of people. If Pat wants to run for office and I want to run against him, somebody shouldn't have to say, well, let's challenge him. Let the people be the voice, because Pat may be in this person's pocket or that person's pocket. It's about the people. Mm-hmm. These politicians or elected officials someone gave me a new name for them, elected appointees, should serve the people.
Yeah.
That is their job.
Yeah. The question is, who are they really serving? Who are they really serving?
I mean, I gave you some of the numbers. I mean, like I told you, 10.
If you really want to know who they're serving, anyone, you can go to Open States, you can go to Open Secrets, and just look at all of those major donors and go to your Secretary of State of Elections. You can look at those numbers. You can go look at these days that's supposed to be reported. You know, I'm sitting right here with a article dated February 23, 2016, where we have a state senator, and I'm going to say it, Sharif Street, here in Philadelphia, could not win an election. The only way he got to be a state senator was the senator hired. He was basically given the seat when those that wanted to run against him, they were called into a meeting and said, "Hey, do something. You'll serve better somewhere else." Now this young man thinks that because he served and was the vice chair of the state of Pennsylvania, that he believes now he should move up to the U.S. Senate race that will be vacated by Pat Toomey. That he should be there. Look, anybody should be able to run, but you should be qualified to represent the people. It should be about the people, not the power or the ego.
Or really, or position over purpose.
You know, and this is we're Lieutenant Governor going to throw his hat in the ring. That's what I'm saying. People are jockeying for position.
But fellas,
can I got this done?
Can I pose a question to you though? As you talk about jockeying for position, as you talk about making sure that we have representatives who are working for all the people of Pennsylvania, all the people of Texas, all the people of California, the people across this country, there were 74 million people that voted for Donald Trump in this past election. Right now, he thinks it was way more than that, but for all that we know, there were 74 million people, which was still a record, right? Still tremendous support. Joe Biden got 80 plus or something like that, which is a record, right? Whether you agree with those people or not, how do we go forward in this country in engaging those people? They're Americans. They pay taxes. They have rights. You just disagree with, many people disagree with who it is that they support. So how do we move forward? Do we ignore their concerns and their issues, right? And then just only focus on the issues and concerns of African Americans and LGBTQ and Hispanics and just totally ignore those persons? Or do we find a way to engage and find out what their frustration is and what their frustration was that Trump was able to tap into and embolden them and find a way that we move forward? That's the question. That's the $1 million question. How do we do that?
And one way that we do it like what used to take place. You have to bring folks, like you said, bring them to the table. You have to be willing to listen. You have to sit there and you have to have open a dialogue. You cannot, right now, unlike years ago, we only had certain media. Now we have what I call the social reporters, the internet reporters that don't get their facts right. They are out there just to cause a lot, and not just them. We have elected officials. We have elected officials. Some don't even know where the district is or begins.
Some of them don't know that there's a food disparity in a city where it's 27% poverty.
But these folks, this is what we're saying. We have to engage, and I guess one of the biggest problems, Damien, is that I don't know about Texas, but we don't have civics. If you're going to get, when you get to the first time you get a taste of civics now, is if you decide to go to college.
Yeah. Why do you have civics when you don't even have civility?
Yeah. Well, there you go, Pat. There you go. That's what I'm getting at here. And Randall, you're right about civics. We need to make sure that we are teaching from young age all the way up to death people basic civics on how government works, so forth and so on. I get, but at the same time, we need to see civility from our elected officials. That's who we're looking to. Where's the civility? All the finger pointing, all the blaming. And here's what kills me is the people play this game about they decide what's right and what's wrong and what's righteous according to what party they're part of, right?
Right.
If you know, I'm just gonna be frank about this. Joe Biden was accused of sexual assault, right? You didn't hear a mumbling word about it from Democrats. You didn't hear a mumbling word about it from Democrats, right? But then there's a Democratic brother in Virginia, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. He got accused of sexual assault. They tore his career up, right?
Yeah,
Democratic,
I'm Franken too.
Yeah, a Democratic black brother, right?
A joke, nonetheless, but a joke.
Now, but then on the other side, Donald Trump. That's all they talked about is how much he the sexual assault case and so forth and so on. And sexual assault is a very serious issue. But what I'm getting at is, if it's wrong about Donald Trump, then it's wrong also when it comes to Joe Biden, right? But depending on what team we're on, we decide what is righteous and what is not righteous, right? And so we've got to find a way to be more civil with one another. Here's another thing that I heard. I think Dick Durbin said this, Senator Dick Durbin out of Illinois. He said that those protesters came and desecrated this sacred place, the United States Capitol, right? This sacred place, right? And I said, what?
Which was built by slaves.
There you go. I said, let me look up when this place was built. Found out 1793. There's nothing sacred about a building that was built by slaves and slave labor. White House built by slaves. U.S. Capitol built by slaves. Don't talk to me about something sacred about this place that was built by slaves. Right, as though the people, right, as though the people inside, as though the United States representatives and senators are holier than thou and so special than any other millions of Americans in this country who are suffering and who need more than $600, right? And so I think there's a lot of deluge and a lot of delusional talk and a lot of disconnect from reality, right? In those governmental chambers. And so again, what we saw on Wednesday was a groundswell of chickens coming home to roost from frustrated Americans of all colors. Black folks would have ran up on the steps and have every right to run up on the steps and run through the Capitol. But guess what? We're afraid to do so because we know we'll get sniped, right? And so I understand the passion of those folks and what they were doing. It got out of hand. But there are frustrated Americans across the board. When you talk about giving people who are suffering and can't find a job $600, every American should be on the steps of the United States Capitol to demand more accountability and efficiency and honesty and transparency from the folks that they elect.
But that's $600. If you took that over 365 days, just imagine that's $1.64. We in this country complain about sweatshop labor and cost, and a pair of sneakers that somebody made for $2. We're no better than the folks we want to condemn. Mm-hmm. You know, when we do that, $2,000 let's keep it real. Our money is not backed by anything. So Pat can go out here and print $2 trillion tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't do that because it's federal.
But he would go to jail.
But the Federal Reserve is a private bank, by the way.
But in reality, $2,000 may help some folks easier than the $600. But within those markups, let's get it. Don't get it twisted. It was supposed to be a relief bill, but when you looked at that bill,
man,
it was not a relief bill for American people.
Man, it was a slush fund for foreign countries.
Everybody else and their pet project.
Yes.
And the defense fund.
Yes.
I think how many
defense fund was in there as well. But when you think about it, museums getting millions and millions of dollars for salaries that are closed. Some of them made in Philadelphia are opening, sporadically. The Smithsonian, look at the amount of money that they receive. For salary. For salaries for people that are not working, where is the money going? Where is the accountability? This is part of our problem here in the United States of America. In our cities, there is no accountability.
But check this out, Randall. But that's what I'm saying, and this is what I want people to understand. If we throw out all of this partisan crap, right? We're so brainwashed with this party crap, right? You just mentioned 300,000 Americans have died from coronavirus, right? People have lost their jobs. Our economy is unstable right now. Right,
you roll out a vaccine.
Right, you sent folks $1,200 a few months ago. Right now, months later, you still haven't found a job. You delayed the checks because you wanted to play politics with whether Donald Trump would win or not. And then when you finally get an opportunity to do so, you tell people you're going to send them $600. Meanwhile, if you look at the fine print, as you just mentioned, millions and billions of dollars going to foreign countries, millions going to museums, millions going to nonprofits, and you want to look struggling Americans, no matter what race, color, creed, in their face and tell them that $600 is going to help them put food on the table. Meanwhile, their children are crying and looking at them saying, looking for the next meal and paying for daycare and Wi-Fi and all these different things. It's an absolute joke. And so I hope you can understand the frustration that we saw yesterday. It was bigger than the violence. It's the frustration that Americans have, and our elected leaders across the country have to do a better job to connect with people, understand the problems.
And David, you mentioned something about meals. And Pat and I, since March the 26th, we've been out here in the streets, day in and day out. I mean, we only missed 2 days so far here in 2021.
Yeah.
Whether we're out with last night we were in Kensington with gangs.
I saw that. Pat sent me some pictures. Y'all doing some good work, man.
Passing out. This place, think about it. In Philadelphia, they pushed these folks on the other side. Not getting them no help.
On the other side of the tracks.
I mean, so that they could develop over on the riverside and raise the cost, but not giving these folks help. But they put in places where it's safe havens, where they can go shoot up, where drug dealers and you can buy yourself and go in a safe haven place and shoot up drugs. You saw the pictures. You saw what the people look like.
Yeah, the vast majority was.
And our elected officials, we didn't realize it was that bad. These are the excuses, and this is another form of frustration. We're out there feeding people, and somebody was murdered a block away, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and folks did not leave the line when the gunshot started. Because they wanted to get food because their families were hungry.
Gotta eat.
But yet and still, every one of these daggone elected officials are receiving a paycheck. Some up there posting in the Elmwood Zoo, running around with their grandkids, doing all of this other stuff, getting full paychecks while people are out here hurting. And then they come out with photo ops. I gave Pat a box of food today.
Yeah, I actually got some other scary numbers for y'all. You got Randall's on fire.
Yeah. So that Coquito.
Yeah. So two scary numbers, right? Trump has made over $2 billion in his last 3 years in office.
Okay.
Over $2 billion. Aren't you supposed to put your business down before you get in office? All right, we're just gonna park that right there.
Okay.
So also his administration from the defensive fund has gone up 15% $750 billion.
That's every administration. There's never any cuts.
That is irresponsible.
Well, well, that's every administration. There have never been any cuts when it comes to defense. Every administration is going to.
Defense will always get theirs.
Defend against who? Against who?
I'm just telling you.
It's like 2 other countries with nuclear missiles. That's it.
Yeah, so I think that's slightly unfair to just put that and say Trump. Well, every administration before him is always going up. You know, they're going to give him a bunch.
I'm not putting it on him. I'm just saying while we're seeing all this money going through the hands of the already wealthy, right, or the always have against the have never, right? But he made $2 billion and nobody's paying attention.
No, I think folks are paying attention. But what can you do about it? But let me make this point, though.
But there's nothing you can do if you don't have a job. Somebody got to create jobs. You know, when you hear folks talking about bail, he fell because he lost $1 billion yesterday. I mean, that's like you losing $10, Pat.
Yeah. But let me make this point really quick.
After you make this point, give us the best way to get in contact with you. We're up against the hour.
Oh, yeah. I'm watching the clock. I know. So listen, let me make this point, this last point, though. Slavery began not because of skin color. It was because of economics. It was about free slave labor. They fought the Civil War because they didn't want their labor and their economics to end, right? When Martin King died, he was putting together a poor people's campaign, right? To bring together poor black people and poor white people together, because there are more poor white people in this country than there are poor black people, if you really look at the numbers, right? I think Fred Hampton, when he died, he had begun to work with poor white people and bring them together with poor black, because there's a common thread of poverty, right? And as we face this pandemic, we're seeing more poverty. Folks who are on the surface of poverty are now living deep in it. And so the frustration that we're seeing from Americans, we have some racial tensions, but most of it comes out of a place of economics and poverty, wanting to put food on the table. And so I want us to remember that as we go forward into 21. How can we make sure all Americans can feed their family, throw all this racial crap out of the way? Well, the best way to reach me is my website, iamdamienjones.com. I am Damian Jones. Look me up on Facebook, Damian Jones podcast as well. But as always, an honor to be with you all and to talk politics and to talk shop, talk life with you all. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Damian Jones. I just want to say one quick thing. We went to, and I forgot to do this, we want to send out our condolences to the family of Joe Lewis, Crazy Joe, and to our former guest, his daughter, Joetta Clark Diggs. People that know Lean On Me, that he was from East Side High. With that said, we want to thank our engineer today. Thank you, Mike Vito. If you want to listen, follow us on social media. We are at Tone